I don't know when they'll return. I don't know when that deathly stench will drift into my room again. The thought of them leaves me trembling day and night. The moment I close my eyes, I see them as they were that first horrific night they appeared in my home. When it began, I thought it was a nightmare. But by the time I realized it was far worse, it was too late. It all started that night. A night of torrential rain and crashing thunder. The storm raged, keeping me awake. Suddenly, my front door creaked open. I live alone. There was no one else there to open it. Terror seized me. I ran to the living room and witnessed an unimaginable scene. The door gaped open, and a thick, unnatural fog billowed in. As the fog dissipated, 3 men, strangers, materialized. I screamed, demanding to know who they were. They spoke in a guttural language I'd never heard, their voices like the rasping of dry leaves. Each wore a long, black cloak, their faces the only visible flesh. Their faces, like grotesque sculptures, unnervingly perfect, yet disturbingly wrong. Their eyes, yellowed and vacant, pupils milky white, clouded with an ancient film, like the eyes of dead fish. They ignored my questions and separated, gliding across the floor, slithering into the shadows beneath my furniture. One under the bed, one under the table, one beneath a chair. They lay still, utterly motionless. I raged, I pleaded, I ordered them to leave. They remained unresponsive, as if deaf to my cries. Despérate. Espérate. I called the police. I told them intruders were in my house. When they arrived, I pointed to where the figures lay hidden. Look. I begged, but they saw nothing but empty spaces and discarded black cloth. There's no one there, they said. I insisted, I pleaded, but they saw nothing. They left, dismissing my terror. Fury consumed me. I grabbed a knife from the kitchen and screamed at the shadows, my voice raw with fear. Get out. I shrieked, or I swear, they didn't even flinch. They didn't blink. I was at my wit's end. They lay there, unmoving, menacing. A silent, putrid presence. Hours later, as the first hint of dawn touched the sky, they vanished, dissolved into wisps of black smoke, as if they'd never been there. I stood there, paralyzed, the stench of decay clinging to the air. From that day forward, they returned every night, even on nights without storms. They came. I screamed, I raved, I begged them to leave. My pleas went unanswered. It was always futile, and just before dawn, they would vanish again. I couldn't comprehend what was happening. I scoured the internet, searching for anyone who had experienced something similar. I found nothing, no answers, no solace. This continued for over a month. Where they lay, the floor began to rot and decay. Mildew bloomed, black and putrid. My body began to ache, a deep, gnawing pain. My skin mottled, purplish bruises blooming beneath the surface, as if my blood had stagnated, pooling beneath my skin. A strange, viscous fluid began to seep from my pores. The slightest movement sent jolts of agonizing pain through my bones. Every breath was an effort. I felt like I was crumbling from the inside out. I rushed to the hospital. The doctors stared at my skin in horror. What have you done? He gasped. What have you done to yourself? This isn't the flesh of a living person. It's more like a corpse. He urged me to be admitted immediately. I went home to pack. As I gathered my things, a horrifying realization hit me. My deterioration had started after those things appeared. It had to be connected. But they weren't human. I knew I needed help. Otherworldly help. I decided to seek out Lin Mei, the shaman rumored to have dealings with the unseen world. Lin Mei looked at me, her eyes dark and knowing. "How many are there?" she asked, her voice low. She seemed to smell the decay clinging to me, the corruption seeping from my pores. Her question confused me. "What do you mean?" I stammered. "How many?" "I'm asking," she clarified. "How many roommates do you have?" "I don't have any roommates," I replied. "I live alone." Her brow furrowed. "They come to your house every night," she stated, her voice laced with a chilling certainty. "Those things that look like the living but reek of the grave. They share your home every night, and you say you live alone." I was stunned. She knew everything. I begged her to help me, to rid me of them. She agreed. I took her to my apartment. As soon as she entered, she coughed, recoiling. "The stench is potent," she rasped. "The reek of the grave clings to this place. This means they have been dead a long time." She began to chant, her voice a low, guttural murmur. Moments later, the front door opened. The three that haunted my nights reappeared. They pointed at Lin Mei, their voices a chilling chorus of whispers I couldn't understand. Lin Mei's voice boomed. "Show your true faces, deceivers." Like shedding skin, the cloaks and the flesh beneath sloughed away, revealing 3 grinning skeletons, 3 grinning skulls, bone-white and ancient. The stench of death intensified, a wave of putrefaction washing over me. They lunged at Lin Mei, bony fingers reaching, grasping, their jawless skulls snapping, biting at her arms and legs. She screamed in agony. I frantically dialed the police again. I didn't know if it would work, but I had to try. I tried to pull the skeletons away, but their grip was surprisingly strong. I couldn't budge them. One latched onto my leg, its bony jaw clamping down on my knee. I thrashed and kicked, screaming in pain. My screams echoed in the terror-filled room. Then, police sirens wailed in the distance. The skeletons froze. As the sirens grew closer, they scurried away, vanishing into thin air. They were afraid of the police. It made no sense. The police called an ambulance for Lin Mei. She was rushed to the hospital. Her injuries, though horrific, weren't life-threatening. She would recover, but it would take time. The next day, I packed my belongings and moved in with my parents. I never returned to that apartment. No one would ever believe me. Who were they? Why me?